إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر. Respected brothers and elders, mothers and sisters in Islam, we are grateful, we are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His bounties and blessings. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us in the company of the righteous in this world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise us amongst the righteous on the day of Qiyamah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fill our lives with mercy and rahmah, as all of us are in the need of the rahmah and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who gifted us the opportunity to be in the masjid and to stand in front of Him and to perform, and inshallah to the ability to perform salah in just a few moments, not only as a ritual but a sense of meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a powerful conversation that becomes the means of purification of our hearts. Brothers and sisters, I have been thinking about what could be our topic for khutbah since last night. That what can we talk about? As a khatib, there's a huge responsibility, even though these are only 10 to 15 minutes that we're together. But there's a sense of message that needs to go from us as a community that we can grow together to really become individuals that not only are doing well for ourselves, but as a community, as an ummah, as people. And what came to mind was, after reflection, is that many of our issues and problems and difficulties is because of lack of contentment and connection to the Quran and to the Salah itself. And it brings me to a story that I'll get to the khutbah for today. There was a great teacher of ours from amongst the scholars of Hind, Sheikh Ilyas Kandalwi, rahimahullah ta'ala. And it's not from the hadith, this is not from particular stories from the narrations, but it is a story of reflection that brings me to this khutbah. And he said he was sitting down one day and the students were serving the teachers while they were eating. And humility and humbleness is something that is taught. So the student had a plate of curry that was being brought to the teacher, and the child accidentally slipped and dropped a little bit to the side while putting it on the place where the teachers were eating. And the teacher did not scream, did not yell, did not say anything, and he only said one thing. And he said, "Oh my son, try to create khushu and devotion in your salah. Your entire life will become focused. Bring focus in your namaz, in your salah. Allah will give you the focus of your life." Brothers and sisters, what I feel from this very story itself is that many of us lose the focus of our lives because we don't create enough focus in our salah, in our prayer itself. And I'm talking about myself. I'm not speaking about anyone else. But brothers and sisters, when was the last time in my sajda I felt the closeness of Allah? The time when I left dunya behind, and there was no deity more powerful than the one that I was closest to, but I still had things going around in my heart other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So brothers and sisters, I think the focus is to go back to some of the very basic things that we have forgotten as an ummah. They're very deep intellectual discussions that we can all do, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. But I think it's very important for us to come to the very basics of our deen. That if your salah is complete, your entire deen is complete. If your salah is incomplete, then the entire deen is incomplete. So it's important for us. So the first thing to remember, brothers and sisters, is the significance of salah. The importance of salah. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Taha, chapter 20, verse number 14, "Indeed, I am Allah, innani ana Allah, la ilaha illa ana, fa'buduni," and establish, and it says, وَأَقِيمِ الصَّلَاةِ, establish the salah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordains us. According to the ayats of the Quran, over 600 times, the commands of establishing salah has come inside. But one thing to understand, brothers and sisters, is that the salah itself is beyond the rituals. It's beyond the movement of up and down. For many of us, it becomes an accustomed part of our duty, our responsibility. We know the steps, we know the words, we know the times. But brothers and sisters, let us reflect of what truly means to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What it truly means to rush to complete that obligation. To be able to have time with your beloved to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa himself mentioned the hadith of Sunan al-Nisa'i, where the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa said, "Ju'ilat qurrata ayni fi salah." The coolness of my eyes is in salah. I want to ask you to say this openly or publicly, but think in your own hearts. What gives you comfort when you're going through a difficult time? What do you do when you're not comfortable? What do you do or resort to, the first action that comes to your mind, that you do when you feel down, or where you feel like things are not going well? What's the means of your relaxation? What's the means of your contentment and sukoon? And then find out what our Nabi Rasulullah ﷺ said with regards to salah. And according to the hadith, that whenever a difficulty, a problem, an issue arises in the life of the Nabi of Allah ﷺ, he would rush towards salah. إِذَا حَزَبَهُ عَمْرٌ فَزَعَ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ, that it was the first thing that he would rush towards making salah. So brothers and sisters, more than the rituals, it's a means of our connection. Wallahi, if our salah and our namaz becomes good, our entire deen will become good. Our lives will become focused. Our lives will become full of sukoon and contentment. So brothers and sisters, how do we develop that relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in salah? Let's talk about a few practical steps before we share some takeaway messages. So 4 quick practical steps. Number 1, my humble request to you. We have individuals seated in this gathering from ages young. I see young children from 10, 9, 8 to elders in our 60s and 70s. But forgive me for asking, but how many of us even know what we say in our namaz and salah? What am I even saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What does Rabbana lakal hamd mean? What does Subhana Rabbiyal A'la mean? The words that we proclaim and say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in sajda when we're closest to Him. So it is important for us to at least understand the words of salah that we are reading. We need to work on our salah. I request you to give some time from your busy lives in learning the salah and making and perfecting your salah. We need to perfect our salah, brothers and sisters. I see young brothers here. For those who play sports and for sisters as well, if you play sports, you become good at doing something. I know this is a little off topic, but just to understand, if someone who knows how to play basketball, there's a thing called a free shot. You stand on this line, you can't jump, and you have to shoot at a certain angle. The people who continuously play become so accustomed to doing so that they can do it blindfolded. Why? Because they know the arc, the strength, the amount of pressure, and all that is required to do it perfectly. Because they spend time in doing it. Brothers and sisters, when was the last time that we made effort in our salah? I stood there and I said, I want to create khushu in my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers and sisters, we need to fix our salah. All of us, I talk about myself. We need to develop our ta'alluq and our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once our salah is made, we can get the whole world. Your lives and my life will change because our salah can change all things, brothers and sisters. Get direct help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through salah. To tap into the ultimate treasures of Allah through salah is our means. Even a sip of water or drop of salt or anything that we want, we can get from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the biggest and the smallest of our needs through salah, brothers and sisters. So number 1, understand what you are saying in salah. Number 1. Number 2, we need to create the presence of khushu, the devotion in our salah, both exterior and both interior. And And I feel bad, and I say this for myself and not for anyone else. There comes a time that from the first takbir to the last salam, there's not even a single moment that there is only Allah in front of us, or in front of me, I would say. From the first takbir to the last salam, not even 5 seconds where I could say that I forgot everything, it was only Allah in front of me, subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to create khushu. If we don't talk about it, we will never create it, brothers and sisters. Both exterior and interior khushu. Khushu and khudu. The exterior and the interior part of our lives need to be focused to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers and sisters, we live in a time that we're multitasking at all times. There are things happening. You're listening to my khutbah. You're thinking about something. I'm giving the khutbah, thinking about the post-khutbah. We need to focus our hearts and our salah. We need to unplug ourselves sometimes and to connect that heart to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. There is nothing that will give sukoon to our hearts except for the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our heart needs the sukoon and the connection of Allah more than ever now, brothers and sisters. There's too much information. There's too much things going on in our lives. There's just too much repetitiveness of things that doesn't allow us to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 5 minutes, brothers and sisters. 5 minutes of our salah. Unplug yourself and have that focus, but it requires efforts. It requires the talab and the desires initially to be connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So to understand what we are reading in salah, to create khushu and take away distractions, avoid and remove distractions before and in salah. Yes, we're human beings. Things will come, but don't get indulged in those distractions, but focus towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Make dua in the right intention of your salah itself, and to visualize our salah as maybe the last form of ibadat in our lives. As the last form of ibadat in our life. I remember in the books of ahadith, when you study Sahih Sitta, I remember sitting in a class and our dear teacher, Shaykh Hussain Siddiqui, may Allah reward him and bless our teachers in the greatest of the ways. He was teaching the hadith of Ismul A'zam. There's a famous hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ that there is a name of Allah, which is known as the greatest name of Allah, Ismul A'zam. A'zam means the greatest. That if you make dua with the name of Allah, Allah will accept all of your prayers. There's a hadith, authentic hadith. So we being students in our teens, I asked and I said, Ustadji, teacher, beloved, can you please teach us that word? We have a pending list of dua. Can you please teach us what the Ismul A'zam is so that we can get all our du'as accepted? And I still remember the reply he mentioned, and I'll conclude with this. He said, it's a difficult example, but I would want you to understand this example. He said, imagine you were in the water and you were swimming. And you had a friend that was standing on the shore on the sides. And may Allah forgive, may Allah forgive, may Allah forgive, may Allah always keep us protected and safe. But if a person didn't know how to swim properly and a wave came and hit this person, and they only had one single breath left to call their friend for help that was standing to the side. Only one breath left. Farhan, like screaming that name, like save me. He says the amount of pain and desire and talab and the sense of need that this person has, and that one scream and one breath left. He says, call Allah with that much need and Allah will fulfill all of your prayers. Call Allah with that much need. It's like that last breath that you have left. And if no one hears you, you're gone. Call Allah with that much need and Allah will fulfill your prayers. Allah answers, we don't ask. Allah gives, we don't ask. Brothers and sisters, we really need to focus upon changing our lives. Through salah, through learning salah, through developing salah, and through creation, connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that can really do so. So few things to do. Number one, brothers and sisters, let's all of us create ihtimam and punctuality in our 5 daily salah, especially in the masjid, in congregation. Number one. And make salah your daily retreat. Salah should not feel like a burden. It should not feel like a difficult moment. As I go back to the time, what do you enjoy doing in your life? Sitting with your friends and having a good time. Make salah your retreat. Salah should not be a burden for us. It should not feel like a break. It should feel like time that you can spend with your beloved Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allow you to acknowledge the presence of Allah in all moments of your lives. Let salah be a source of your healing. There's so much difficulties. Salah is a means of healing our lives. Let salah be a means of healing for us. And brothers and sisters, last but not least, we need to transform salah from ritual to relationship with Allah. It's not a ritual, just a ritual. It is a ritual of deen, but it has to become a relationship, a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just merely a checkbox to fulfill, but to speak to Allah in sujood, to connect with Allah in the times of difficulty, and to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there with us at all times. So brothers and sisters, as we leave here today, let us take a renewed commitment towards making our salah meaningful, making our prayers a little bit more better than what they were before. Let us strive to pray not just because our bodies are doing this, but our hearts and our ruh and our souls and our minds be connected. And brothers and sisters, salah is a gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave all of us. An opportunity to connect to Allah without any other sources. For all this world, you need resources and connections, and you need to know the right people to get the right things done. Allah gave you this right connection. Allah gave you a connection to get anything done from the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's us that we really need to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 5 times a day that Allah gives us this. Let us cherish all of this, brothers and sisters. Let us value what Allah has given us. Because if we don't value what we have, we will never take care of it. And let it make it a source of joy, not a burden. Let make salah a means of joy for us, a means of comfort for us, and a means of strength for us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to live our life according to the Quran and the beautiful sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Just few very, very quick announcements, inshallah, before we finish. There was a death in the community. One of our sister who is a frequent part of our masjid, her nephew had passed away, Rayan Shehzad Sasamar. Please make dua for him that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants him Jannatul Firdaus, the highest of the places in Firdaus al-A'la. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant sabr and patience to the family, allow them to become a means of continuous sadaqah and charity, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give sabr jameel to all of those that are affected with any difficulties and hardships that have been facing. Also, we have our youth night tonight. If you have not registered your children, high school and college students, we have an amazing lineup of event from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. tonight, inshallah. A lot of work has been put inside for our youth. If you have not registered or have not, please make sure that we can participate in that. We also have a health clinic tomorrow done by 2 amazing young sisters from our community. They will be providing health advice, free flu shots, and other things post-Dhuhr Salah as well. So you can also participate. May Allah give us tawfiq and ability to live our life into the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet. Before we have the khutbah, if we can kindly request everyone to rise once. Please fill up all the gaps so we can give everyone some room. It's kind of cold outside, so if you can make some room for others, please.